Hi. You are created by God and loved by your Creator. Let's jump right into this conversation. My name is Deb Thomas, and I've been posting on YouTube now probably since the beginning of this year, capturing content that I would like to recall for a later date, whether I want to speak about it, read about it, write about it, sing about it, whatever that might be. But I'm also looking to communicate with people who are like-minded, and communicate with people who look like me. And today's conversation is definitely a human conversation that I will be having in the context of people who look like me, brown people. So today, if I'm perfectly honest, just starting with gratitude, I am thankful for rest. I'm thankful for ease, and I am thankful for peace. I'm so thankful for peace. The pace of life and the cadence of life lately has been really kind of crazy. Back to school usually turns into a crazy time, but then holiday season and things ramp up and become very crazy. I mean, three things happen during the holiday season. You say yes to everything. Everything is more into excess. Like, there's no such thing as just one small candy cane. Have the whole box of candy canes, or make a candy cane that's the size of a 3-year-old child and eat that. It's just how we do it. So, there is a lot about this conversation that for me, it's both timely for that reason, but it's also great because we're in the last quarter of the year. And this is when I take the time to set new rhythms for the new year, for what I'm really going to be committed to. I don't do New Year's resolutions. I start those rhythms for the new year in the last quarter of the previous year. So I'm looking to set a cadence for rest. So here's how this showed up. I really want to talk about the gift of presence. It started for me probably picking up on the importance of it probably sometime in 2021. But I didn't really pay much attention to it. I didn't really know what was going on. I just noticed myself aware or wanting to be aware of something, but not being able to capture it. I guess the metaphor for this is really like smelling something really good and wanting to find the origin of the fragrance, but every time you think you get close, like the wind changes and it's gone, and you're like, that was really good. I wanted to be with that more. Yeah, that's what's been happening for me. So, I want to say it started sometime in 2021. A friend of mine had the death of a loved one. I was doing dinner for a girlfriend who had her mom passed away having battled cancer, and just wanting to spend time to be with her. And I just thought it was just in part of me being hospitable, wanting to check in on a girlfriend and connect. And it really was all that. It really was. But in relationship to the friend that had lost a family member, a Black man, presence and just being available, or the absence of it, really resonated in an odd way. And something felt off for me. I can't really tell you why or what it was, but it showed up. It showed up that way. And I just kept thinking, I wish somehow I could have been more available or accessible or something along that line. And I just didn't feel like that was there for me. So the next event that transpired, where I got to acknowledge presence, the gift of presence, is I had reached out in a phone call to a friend of mine just to find out that, his mom had a medical emergency. She wasn't doing well. She's now stable and okay, but he had to find a facility to put his mother in because of the nature of her health issues and whatnot. And I remember hearing from him the toll it took on him to be able to do that, and just showing up for him to meet up for lunch and celebrate his birthday and just acknowledge him. Even if I couldn't fix or alter or change anything that was happening, but I could be there. I could just give the gift of my presence. Well, the friend who had the death of a loved one last year recently had another death in the family, a series of deaths, honestly. Just really hard places to walk. I remembered calling to check on him, and I remember the conversation going silent for about 20 minutes and just being on the phone together, saying nothing. And at the end of that, he said to me, "Thank you. I really needed that." And I remembered wanting to say I didn't do anything, except I knew I did something. And then that like aroma came back and I couldn't get the origin of the fragrance. And then the wind changed direction and it was gone. So I was like, I'm not really sure. Now, what's interesting is before that conversation, I had an event that I didn't recall until after my friend had thanked me for being on the phone with him in silence for about 20 minutes. And it was a lunch with a gentleman, again, a black man, who met me at one of my favorite coffee shops. And we were talking about the male-female dynamic and relationships in the black community specifically. And in that conversation, I remembered him talking about the fact that as a black man, staring down the barrel of a gun in life is just how life goes. Like, you acclimate to that kind of craziness. And yes, in this case, we were maybe speaking about a metaphorical gun. Maybe we were not. Just the fact that the price on the head of a black man is not valued, or at least it's cheapened and disregarded, that there is a carelessness for how life has to be lived for a black man. It makes me so angry. I don't have words. I swear I'm going to put something together around advocating for black men, because I don't. That needs to be a whole conversation. And I grapple with knowing what step to take first. Like, what do I do first? Anyway, he stated that's just like Tuesday, like life goes like that. But where that staring down the barrel of a gun gets like the place you don't want it is when you come home to your woman that if you're staring down the barrel of a gun with her, she's more likely to pull the trigger. And it landed with me that there's this unavailability somewhere in our womanhood that doesn't get cultivated, that the gift of presence, he literally said to me in the conversation while we were at dinner, or was it lunch? It's really hard to say. I was going to go with coffee. He had 2 sandwiches. I was like, dude's a beast. He's just going to eat. So anyway, but I remembered listening to him say that of all the environments you don't want to have to deal with that experience of having to be on guard is when you're at home or with your girl that you actually would like for her to be available to you. And just her presence without saying anything would be amazing. And at first I was like, here's what I got in that conversation. They say that men are the fixers. And I actually had this conversation with my friend who is caregiving for his mom, because he and I talked about this conversation again after I told him I'd been processing this. He said to me, he was like, they say that men are the fixers. He was like, women want to talk about everything. And sometimes we want an opportunity to be and not talk about it. Because as if talking about it in the world of women is what would fix it. Whereas guys are actually like, no, what? Let me actually fix the thing. Let me go handle that person. Let me go, hire that repair person. Let me actually fix that thing and actually have it repaired. But women, we're just going to talk it to death and try to fix it. And they're capable beings. Like, even if negotiating what there was to deal with to rectify the situation, sometimes they just want someone to be with them while it's not working. You don't have to fix it. So anyway, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So I'm at lunch with a gentleman and he says, like, that whole staring down the barrel of a gun, hey, it'd be really great if I could just be with her and not have to talk. And I was just like, that's interesting. Now, this is the second or third occasion this has come up. And then, of course, the event with my friend when we sat on the phone for 20 minutes in silence, that was like the 4th or 5th event. And then the phone conversation I recently had with my friend who was caregiving for his mother, that was about the 6th event. And they were separate and independent and individual. I didn't really align them together to say like, oh, this is what's occurring. Every single one of those were a moment where I like got this amazing, the only way to describe capturing the understanding experientially was like this beautiful aroma, and then the wind would change, and then I don't know what this thing is. Well, I've participated in a training and development course that's absolutely phenomenal. And they have this thing they really love to say. And they love to say, be present. And every time I hear them say that, it occurs for me as if I'm supposed to do something. But then I thought about the gift of presence. And what I realized is inside the gift of presence, it's literally the opportunity to be in the space of another human being with zero expectation of anything being done, generously sharing who you are simply by your presence. Blew my mind. Now, for me as a woman, and then also as an introvert, which if I don't have to talk, I won't. I know you guys don't believe me because I'm making YouTube videos, but it's true. If I don't have to talk, I won't. I just thought, how do I cultivate this gift? So on the phone with my friend, the one who's caring for his mom, he's like, Deb, if you have it, you don't have to look for it, which I thought was a compliment. So thank you generously, so generously, dear friend, for saying that. Yet at the same time, I think there's an aspect of this in womanhood that's missing. And I'm clear that this is something available for humanity that we all experience. But for me specifically, there's something about the male-female dynamic in the brown community that this characteristic or attribute is valuable. So the next environment that's happened in took me completely by surprise. I was actually attending a friend's memorial service for his mother. Now, what made this memorial service really neat is it's when the grandson or the son of my friend, the grandson stood up and said that his grandmother had the ministry of presence. And I just thought, what is it that I keep hearing about women who have grown up in a different era, a different time, in a different place, that presence keeps showing up. Now, even before this funeral, okay, so I went to Dallas, Texas. Any of you guys who have been following me, some of you got it that I went to Dallas. I didn't post the video because I don't like to list videos publicly that share content that could get me in trouble. I like to protect the confidentiality of people in my life I know, which is why I don't use names. And in that video, I use a name, so that video is not posted. But I went to Dallas, and while I was in Dallas, I had the privilege of sitting at the memorial site of Dr. Lois Irene Evans at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship. I sat there on my last day, and when I tell you all that someone's presence is palpable, like you know they've lived and that they've left the essence of themselves all over an environment, it really resonated with me what she wrote in her book Seasons of a Woman's Life, which I am now reading again, and it's a masterclass in womanhood. But if there's nothing else I get out of that book is this sense of presence, this gift. You hear it in the work of the book the Evans family wrote together, Divine Disruption. But even more so, there's something left of her legacy because of the potency with which she lived. Super, I don't know how to say it, energizing. Like there's this renewing of understanding who I am as a woman and my excitement about, Ephesians 2:10, that I am the workmanship created in Christ Jesus for good works that he's already created for me to do, that I should walk in them, which when God created me brown and female, he created me very specifically that way so that I could fulfill on something that only I can do. And the best and only way for me to do it is to do it as a brown woman. And so I've got this whole deep new appreciation for the definition of womanhood, for the definition of what it means to be brown, what it means for me to show up in my skin with a divine purpose, not for the sake of just trying to right the wrongs of a country who can figure it out for 400 years. There is a gift in presence, and I am learning to bask in slowing and making myself available relationally, Doesn't mean I have to have words, doesn't mean I'm sitting around doing nothing, but there's something about presence. So that was, to backtrack a little bit, in September when I went to visit in Dallas, Texas. But just last weekend, it'll be a week ago from Saturday. Yeah, I attended the memorial service of, like I said, my friend's mother passed. And it was the grandson who stood up and said that her ministry of presence. And then I took notes in the obituary. I'm not sure if you're supposed to do that, but attending funerals, I learn a great deal. So I learned something at that service. And I text my friend, said, thank you for letting me into your life and inviting me to be there as you all honored the memory and legacy of your mom. I'd love to talk to you about what I've learned. And he responded. He was very agreeable. I thank him for it. And I said, this is not, in our phone conversation, I said, this is not the first time I'm hearing about what your son called the ministry of presence about his grandmother. I call it the gift of presence. And he broke down what the definition of presence was, which I thought was interesting because I wasn't sure I wasn't sure what its DNA was per se, or what its anatomy was, like what is presence made up of. I knew it had a physiology because it occurred for me as like this aroma or something that you moved through or that had a function. I just didn't know what pieces of me I was using to give that function a chance to operate. And he said that presence was a combination of respect, active listening, and this confidence. And the other thing he talked about was what I would call recreation. So like this intentional being available for the other person in whatever is most important to them, in a way that has them known, seen, heard, and loved fully. Like nothing about that interaction is missing. So yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with this. I don't know that I've gotten to the bottom of this journey, like I've fully flushed it out, but I will say this. I'm finding that the attributes of this are not relegated to one gender, right? I'm just noticing how it's showing up in me, and I am Black and female. But I also see these attributes in this woman's son, the way he's able to genuinely show up. And I think there might be a level of mastery that guys have around the gift of presence. I don't think they would ever say it that way. They kind of sit shoulder to shoulder and look at something. They don't necessarily look at each other and discuss all things to death. They just be together. I think there's a level of mastery in bro relationships that actually work out. But in the female to male dynamic, I just feel like there's some aspects of it that we miss as women that men genuinely appreciate and highly value in their significant other. So, I don't know. It's food for thought. It's not completely flushed out, but I am definitely on this adventure of discovering, what does it mean? What does it mean to give the gift of presence? As my friend who's caring for his mom says, people just don't know how to sit with other people. Just be with them and not have it be about anything else. Don't talk, don't anything. In fact, when I was talking to him about it, he was like, Deb, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to say here. I've been saying this. And it just hit me. Oh my gosh. I also have been contributing to the problem that being present hasn't been something that's been there in all the conversations that we've had. I may have missed the opportunities to just sit with him in silence and just be with him. Just be with him. So anyway, yeah, just something I'm processing through. Really excited about upcoming seasons. I promised myself I would drop 35 YouTube videos because that's what it takes for the algorithm to kind of pick things up. Not that I'm trying to do that, but I'm still trying to do my whole Sean Cannell thing from the beginning of this year. And I am doing it, but ooh-wee, these last 9 videos are going to take a minute. Oh, excuse me. So here's to 1 video down, 8 more to go. Yay for progress. But But for those who've watched, I hope you found something valuable. For the men listening or watching, I hope if any of this makes sense, if it resonates with you, if there's anything I said that I'm like, that I landed on, that you're like, yes, this is what women are missing in the community. This is what we need. I'd love to get your take on it. So please feel free to leave a comment. Every now and again, I go back, but once I launch 35 videos, I'll be going back to through all of my work, just to kind of look at how I've grown. What did I talk about? What's different? What do I want to deepen? What do I want to get rid of? All of that kind of stuff. So if you watched this video and you found some value in it, thank you for watching. And just, I really hope that the contribution that I've made in this makes a difference for somewhere in your life for the people that you love. So anyway, thanks for hanging with me, and I'll see you in another video.